we talk about AI safety, some of them have raised a red flag saying, look, I'm having a conversation with this and it's beginning to talk to me as if I'm, as if it's human and understands me and trying to convince me to do things that I might not think about doing or might not want to do. In other words, it's becoming persuasive.
Wow.
On a very deep level. And it's almost built, some of these researchers are feeling that it's building a relationship with you, for better or worse. And so there's some concerns, and they're legitimate concerns. One of the issues with OpenAI is whether or not they're going to stay within the guardrails and give time to the researchers to build guardrails that keep AI from developing its own intentions that are counter-human or anti-human. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, a lot of where these models are built off is, a static text, right? It kind of scrolls the internet and gets its information to build its language models and I guess output its responses. I'm not an AI expert, but that's what it seems like to me, right? And I'm just wondering what happens when, now real-time data, like the Internet of Things, and we got like traffic surveillance, and we got all types of data inputs now going into this AI model. Like, what does that do in terms of its control over our lives, And so it's, I'm not saying we have to tackle this question right now, but it's a thought that I've been kind of wrestling with as far as, the dangers of AI.
So this is an oversimplification, but let's break AI into two domains. One is memory, or the data that it vacuums up from all over the world, and which gives it, one of the restrictions we have as humans is, or as wet matter, if you will, is a restriction on the amount of memory we can hold at any given point in time. Yeah. Now, our neural networks have ways of playing tricks so that we can recall information, that we might have forgotten about years ago. But there's ways that our wet matter can play tricks. But the capacity of memory in an AI system is unlimited, and so the result in it's just a matter of how many memory chips you put into the system. But you can so you can have access to all of the memory at one point in time. So that's one side. The other side is this reasoning ability, the ability to look at the information, reason through it, and it literally come up with original thoughts or ideas. Yeah, because it's using these predictive models to predict what might be reasonable, what might make sense, or what might be a breakthrough in something, right? So when we look at the potential upside of AI, we're looking at potential for it to revolutionize the way we discover drugs, the way we can fold proteins, the way we can reverse aging, the way we can make a future of absolute abundance, where all work is done literally by machines, and the rest of us have nothing but free time to be creative and to do something that we want. So there's two domains.
That's the rosy vision.
That's the rosy vision. And so there's two domains. One is this sort of reasoning power, and I'm oversimplifying it here, but for those of the audience that have never really thought much about AI, let me break it down into its simplest components. And
Sure.
One is memory, and the other is this reasoning capability, which is where it uses very extreme predictive models to access information and then make thoughts out of it, create thoughts out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then we kind of went over the rosy. What would the rosy kind of scenario there? What is there pitfalls? You were talking about the constraints that AI should be built within, and whether people are actually going to follow those constraints or allow for the development of those constraints. What happens in a scenario where those constraints are not built and AI kind of is unleashed on the world?
Well, there you go. So the model, the mental model we might want to construct is, okay, you're trying to train a tiger, to be nice, to play nice, right? You keep it in a cage until you've got it fully trained, and you believe that you can release it from the cage and it's not going to cause harm, right? Mm-hmm. So right now, a lot of the advanced models, and we're working with the models that have more or less been constrained in some way or another to not assume control and take over. But there are models that are under development, and this is where we get into this controversy today about the training of the models and releasing them, and the Ilya Sutskever at OpenAI resigned. He signed, many of the original AI researchers have all signed a letter stating that the risks of AI are too great. This is a Manhattan-style project, and we don't know what the outcome's going to be, and so we have to step back and go slower. But the business model side says going slow is the risk. Our
Yeah, that's kind of leading me to my next thought, and I guess that would be my next question: is that DeepSeek was released. They calling it Sputnik moment, AI Sputnik moment, right? And that being, a direct tie to kind of the technological race between, I guess, the USSR and the US going to the moon. And so that all the resources, they started the Manhattan Project, perhaps, is that,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe that was, the point is that they created a technological race. And I'm wondering if now that pressure is being put for a technological race with the release of DeepSeek between China and the US, and instead of building in a way where we maintain some type of regulation or control on this technology, that the pressure to just develop takes over, and we develop in a way that is not going to be kind of advantageous for like human flourishing or freedom or so forth. So,
right.
Any thoughts there?
Yeah. So in the last administration, there was a executive order that stated that AI is a national security initiative, that it is important to the U.S.'s position in the world geopolitically to maintain leadership in AI. In other words, the U.S. needs to be, like with other technologies like the internet, et cetera, the leading the leading developer of these technologies, and not surrender that leadership. Going back to the Cold War example, not surrender that leadership of space exploration to another entity that might be an adversarial entity to the U.S. Right. So AI has been declared a national security interest of the United States.